I never imagined that the woman I loved for 8 years would one day say, I just need space to find myself. Space? We shared a home, a bed, a damn life. At first, I thought maybe she was overwhelmed. Maybe it was burnout from work, from the routine. I told myself, give her what she needs. She'll come back. So I packed a bag, kissed her on the forehead, and left. What I didn't know was that while I was giving her space, she was filling that space with someone else. And not just anyone. Someone I trusted. Someone who used to call me brother. But you know the part that hurt the most? She kept the dog. Not just any dog. Our dog. The one I rescued when he was a sick little puppy with a broken paw. The one who waited by the door for me every evening. She said, he needs stability. You're going to be moving around now. I didn't fight her. I couldn't. Because at that point I was too numb to care. Or so I thought. Until one night I saw a photo on Instagram. The dog. My dog. In a different apartment. A man's arm around him. A wine glass in her hand. Her head on his shoulder. And that arm, I knew that arm. I recognized the tattoo. That was Jordan. My best friend since college. That night, everything changed. And this story? This isn't about heartbreak. It's about how betrayal can twist the very air in your lungs until you forget how to breathe. It's about how sometimes giving someone space is the worst mistake you'll ever make. My name is Ion, and for the longest time, I believed that real, lasting love was about staying when things got hard. That's what my parents did. Through bills, bad health, fights, and late nights. They stuck together like their love was made of something stronger than bone. I wanted that. I believed in that. And then I met Zoya. She wasn't just a chapter in my life, she was the plot twist I never saw coming. We met on a rainy Monday at a bookstore, both reaching for the same copy of The Alchemist. She looked at me, gave a small smile and said, "You take it. I already know how the story ends." Turns out, I didn't. She had that kind of energy that made the world feel bigger, like you were missing out if you weren't around her. Loud laughs, long tangents about dreams, playlists filled with old Coke studio tracks and random indie songs. I was the quiet one, the planner, the type who color-coded calendars and ordered the same thing in every restaurant. She shook me awake in the best way possible. Dating her felt like living in color for the first time. Mornings with burnt toast and messy hair. Weekend trips that always went off plan but ended with memories that made you laugh months later. She'd dance barefoot in the living room, Leo barking at her heels, and I'd watch like it was my favorite movie scene on repeat. When we moved in together, I thought we'd found our forever rhythm. We were the couple people envied not for money or looks, but because we got each other. We had inside jokes, stupid traditions, and a dog who acted like our actual child. Leo, our golden retriever, came into our lives after we found him abandoned behind a supermarket. He limped toward Zoya, tail wagging, and she looked at me and said, "He's ours." We nursed him back to health together. Late-night vet visits, early morning walks, toys chewed beyond recognition. Leo became part of our little ecosystem. Our world was built on simple Joy Sunday mornings with chai and crossword puzzles, shared playlists during road trips, surprise sticky notes in each other's bags. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. And it felt safe. It felt real. But love is strange. It doesn't die overnight. It fades in whispers. One less smile. One more distant reply. One evening where, "How was your day?" is answered with silence instead of stories. I started to feel like I was living with a memory of her instead of her. She stopped playing music in the mornings. She'd stare at her phone a little too long, lock it when I walked into the room. And worst of all, she started pulling away from Leo. Stopped calling him her baby. Stopped saying goodnight to him the way she used to. I asked if everything was okay, and she'd say, "I'm just tired." Every time. Just tired. And then one night, after dinner, with the TV playing in the background, and Leo curled at my feet, she said it. "I think I need space. To find myself." That's how she said it. Calm. Like it was some casual life update. like it wouldn't completely wreck the ground I was standing on. And me? I didn't argue. Because I thought that was love, to giving someone space when they ask for it, even if it feels like they're asking you to disappear. I packed a bag, took just a few clothes, left Leo with her. I figured I'd come back in a week or two. Once she remembered what we had. What I didn't know was that she was already building something new. With someone else. The first week after I left, I stayed with my cousin in his cramped apartment. I told him it was temporary, that Zoya just needed a little air and she'd come around. He didn't say much, just nodded, offered me his half of the blanket, and left the window open because I always ran hot at night. That's the thing about people who really love you, they don't ask for explanations when your whole world's falling apart. Zoya and I texted here and there, mostly me checking in. She'd reply late, short messages like, "Leo's doing fine. Hope you're sleeping okay. Just trying to get my head straight." I didn't push. I wanted to be the good guy. The one who gave her room, didn't guilt her, didn't act desperate. I thought I was playing the long game. But something in her tone felt off. Like she was being polite, not warm. Like I was a stranger she was trying not to hurt rather than the man she used to call home. Then one night, around 2 a.m., I couldn't sleep. I missed Leo more than anything. I missed his heavy breathing, the way he nudged my arm with his nose when I forgot to scratch behind his ears. So I went on Instagram, Zoya's specifically, just to scroll through old photos. She hadn't posted anything new. Same filtered smiles, beach trips, coffee mugs. All of us. But when I checked her tagged photos, something popped up. A story shared by someone I didn't recognize at first. It was Leo, in a new apartment, lying on a very different rug than ours. The caption said, "This guy's finally warming up to me." Dog red. I froze. I zoomed in on the photo like it could lie to me. Leo was there. Same collar. Same eyes. But the couch behind him wasn't ours. And the tattooed arm reached toward him? That's when my stomach dropped. I knew that arm. It was Jordan. My best friend since college. The guy who helped me move into my first apartment. The guy who stood beside me at my wedding, holding the rings. The one who joked he was Leo's godfather. He was also the one who stopped showing up a few months back. Said work was crazy. Said he was laying low. I believed him. Now, there he was playing house with my dog. And maybe more. I didn't call Zoya. I didn't text. I just sat there, staring at that screen, every part of me trying to convince myself it was innocent. Maybe he was visiting. Maybe Leo wandered into his apartment somehow. Maybe. But my gut knew. The space she asked for wasn't space at all. It was an exit. And she wasn't walking out of our life. She was walking into his. I stared at that photo until my phone screen dimmed and went black. My hand was still frozen in the air, hovering, like I was waiting for the universe to press undo. It had to be a mistake. Right? I opened the photo again. The caption, the couch, the rug, Jordan's stupid tattoo of a compass that he got on a drunken Goa trip and used to joke, helped him never get lost in life. Ironic, really. I clicked on the guy's profile. His stories were gone. Private account. But I caught a glimpse of another photo, Leo in the background, curled up beside someone's leg, cropped off. Why was my dog in his apartment? I told myself, ask her. Don't assume. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe you're spiraling. So I called. For the first time in weeks, I actually called her instead of texting. She didn't pick up. Sent me a message 5 minutes later. Hey, sorry, just in the middle of something. Can we talk tomorrow? I stared at those words for a long time. Middle of what, Zoya? I wanted to scream. I wanted to demand answers. But some part of me, maybe the part that still loved her, clung to the idea that this wasn't what it looked like. That she wouldn't do this to me. Not with him. The next morning, I sat at a coffee shop near her office. I told myself I'd run into her by accident. I hadn't done something like that since we were dating back when surprises were romantic, not desperate. She looked different when I saw her. Sunglasses on, head down, rushed walk. Not like the Zoya who used to twirl in place when a breeze caught her scarf. And then Jordan. He pulled up in his car. She smiled drearily, smiled and got in. Just like that. No hesitation. No let's just be friends body language. No guilt. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't. I walked the city for hours. Past places that used to belong to us, the corner where we first kissed. The late-night chai spot we always ended up at. The park where Leo learned to fetch. All of them are haunted now. Warped versions of memories I wasn't sure I could trust anymore. Was it always fake? Was he always in the picture? Had I missed the signs? Or just refused to see them? I opened our old chats. Searched for Jordan's name. Buried deep in the threads months back there it was. Jordan's gonna stop by to drop something off. I'm not home, can you let him in? That was during the week I had the flu. I remembered letting him in, half asleep on the couch, barely able to speak. He brought soup. Stayed for like 20 minutes. Had it started then? My mind became a crime scene, playing timelines, body language, words, excuses. Everything started to feel rehearsed in hindsight. I wanted to call him. Jordan. But what do you even say to someone who's sleeping with the woman you thought was your forever? Hey bro, how's my dog? Instead, I sat in my cousin's kitchen that night, staring at a cold cup of tea, and whispered, I think she's with him. My cousin didn't say anything at first. He just looked at me. Then he said, You sure? I nodded. But the truth was I wasn't sure. Not entirely. And that was the worst part. Not knowing. Not being told. The quiet betrayal that wasn't loud enough to accuse, but deep enough to destroy. I thought of Leo sleeping beside him, playing fetch with him, licking the hands that betrayed me. I thought of the mornings Zoya used to kiss my forehead and say, I could never do life without you. Turns out, she could. And maybe she already was. About 2 weeks later, I decided I needed answers, real ones. Not vague texts, not breadcrumb explanations. The silence was worse than the truth. I told myself I wasn't going to confront anyone. I just needed to see, to understand how far things had gone. So I waited. On a Friday afternoon, I parked across the street from Zoya's building hour building, technically, since my name was still on the lease. I sat there in my car, heart pounding, hands sweaty on the steering wheel. I wasn't proud of what I was doing, but closure doesn't knock on your door. Sometimes, you have to go get it ugly or not. Around 6:40 p.m., Jordan's car pulled in. I watched him get out, hair freshly styled, holding a small bag of groceries in one hand and a takeout container in the other. He walked up the steps like he'd done it 100 times before. No hesitation. No looking over his shoulder. Like he belonged there. I felt something snap inside me. I got out of the car and followed him. Not up the steps but to the side of the building, where the windows faced the living room. Our old couch was still visible through the curtain. He rang the bell. She opened the door. She was barefoot, laughing about something. She leaned in, hugged him, and she kissed him. Not some guilty, unsure kiss. Not some what are we doing kind of kiss. It was a full-on, hand on the back of his neck, pull him into the apartment kind of kiss. I turned away. I couldn't breathe. My heart was trying to escape my chest. I walked back to my car, but before I could start it, I saw something that made me pause. A package. Left at the entrance. Addressed to her. From a name I didn't recognize. My curiosity got the better of me. I stepped out, pretending to tie my shoe, and looked at the sender's name again. Dr. Samira Khan. The return address? A fertility clinic. What? My mind went blank. I took a photo of the label and got in the car, completely numb. A fertility clinic? Was she trying to have a baby? With him? The thought was too heavy to process. I drove off, hands shaking, head spinning. I didn't sleep that night. I kept going over it again and again. The timing. The lies. The fact that we had talked about having kids so many times, and she'd always say, "Not yet, I'm not ready." But now she was ready? With him? And the worst part, the thing that gutted me the most, was the thought that maybe she was ready all along. Just Not with me. The next morning, I emailed the clinic. I didn't expect a reply, and I didn't lie. I said I wasn't asking for personal records, just clarity. Just something. No response. But a week later, I got one line. We're unable to share details due to privacy policy. However, we can confirm your name is not listed as the registered partner on any file. That was it. The door slammed. The final nail. She wasn't just moving. Anshi was building a life. A future that had nothing to do with me. And somehow, she had done it all while I was still clinging to the ghost of what we had. I didn't plan the confrontation. Honestly, I thought I'd stay silent forever. Let her go. Let them have their future. Be the bigger person. But pain has a funny way of boiling over at the worst possible time. It was a Sunday afternoon. I'd gone back to the apartment to pick up the last of my things, some books, a hoodie, Leo's old leash. I'd told Zoya in advance. She said she'd be out. The place is all yours, she texted. But she wasn't out. She was there. With him. The moment I walked in, I heard laughter coming from the kitchen. That same laughter she used to reserve for me, soft, careless, real. I froze, keys still in hand. Jordan appeared first. His smile dropped the second he saw me. Zoya stepped out behind him, holding a glass of wine. She stiffened. No one spoke. I looked at Jordan. Seriously? He blinked. It's not, don't. I raised my hand. Don't insult both of us. Zoya put the glass down like she suddenly remembered she had hands. You said you were coming later. Yeah, I thought I'd come early, I said. Didn't think I'd be interrupting family dinner. Jordan stepped forward. Look, Manny, don't call me that. My voice cracked. You don't get to call me man, bro, or anything else. You are supposed to be my brother. Zoya looked like she was going to cry. But I'd seen those tears before. I used to hold her through them. This time, I didn't flinch. You want to explain? I asked her. She opened her mouth, closed it, then finally said, I didn't plan for it to happen this way. I laughed. A short, sharp sound that didn't feel like mine. Of course not. You just needed space. And then suddenly you're raising my dog with my best friend. She stepped forward. Please don't say it like that. How should I say it, Zoya? I snapped. That you left without warning, ghosted me for weeks, and now you're building a future I was begging you for with him? She didn't respond. Jordan looked like he wanted to disappear. You knew how much Leo meant to me, I said, my voice lower now, cracked. You could have taken anything else. Furniture, keys, even my damn hoodie. But you kept him. Zoya finally said, You weren't okay, Arman. You weren't sleeping. You were lost. You were shutting down. And I shook my head. So instead of helping me, you moved on with my best friend? There it was. The truth, naked in the room. Jordan looked down. Zoya wiped a tear but said nothing. I looked at both of them. You know what hurts the most? Not the betrayal. Not the lies. It's that you didn't even have the decency to end it before you replaced it. I walked to the living room and picked up Leo's leash. It still had his fur on it. I held it for a second, then dropped it on the table. Keep it, I said. Keep everything. I turned to leave. Zoya called after me. Arman, please. I stopped at the door. You said you needed space to find yourself, I said, without turning around. I gave you the Tande full custody of our dog. And then I walked out, finally understanding what closure really sounds like. A door clicking shut behind you, and no one is running after. It's been 6 months. Half a year since I walked out that door and left behind everything I thought was mine, her, him, a Leo. Some nights, I still wake up expecting the weight of a furry head on my chest. I reach for it in the dark and find only air. That ache, it doesn't vanish. But it dulls with time. That's the cruel mercy of healing. You never really stop bleeding. You just learn how to live with the scar. I thought the hardest part would be losing her. It wasn't. It was accepting that the version of her I loved maybe never existed. Or maybe, worse she did, but only for a moment. And I blinked, and she changed. People keep asking if I've moved on. Some even suggest dating apps, casual flings, distractions. But I've learned something no one tells you after heartbreak. It's not about filling the space they left behind. It's about reclaiming it. I started going back to the places I used to avoid. The chai stall where we'd sit on plastic stools and talk about dreams we never chased. The bookstore where I once bought her a copy of The Little Prince because she said she never read it growing up. Now, I go there alone. And strangely, it feels okay. I even went back to the park. The one Leo loved. I sat on a bench for a long time, just watching the dogs run around. A golden retriever darted past me, and for a second, my heart leapt. But it wasn't him. It never is. And still I smiled. Because for the first time, I wasn't chasing ghosts. I was just remembering, not to hurt myself, just to honor what I had. A few weeks ago, I got a message from an unknown number. It was her. Hey, I know I don't deserve to ask this, but if you ever want to see Leo even just once, I'd like that. He misses you. So do I. I stared at the screen for a long time. And then I deleted the message. Not out of anger, but because I knew what she was doing. She wasn't reaching out to give me closure, she was reaching out because she didn't have any. And that's not mine to fix anymore. She made her choices. I'm making mine. Last Sunday, I volunteered at an animal shelter. They paired me with a shy little dog named Nova who refused to come out of her crate for almost an hour. But when she finally did, she crawled into my lap and rested her head there like she'd always belonged. Funny how broken souls find each other. I might adopt her. Not because I need to replace Leo, but because maybe I'm ready to love again. Differently. Honestly. Without fear. Without holding back. They say heartbreak is the price we pay for loving with our whole heart. If that's true, then I paid in full. But I survived. And somehow, on the other side of betrayal, grief, and silence, I found something I never expected to find again. Peace. So if you're reading this, and you're sitting in the rubble of what used to be your life, wondering if you'll ever breathe again, you will. Not because time heals everything, but because one day you'll stop waiting for the apology that never comes. And that silence will feel like freedom.